Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition NBA Predictions 2020-2021. I'm going to do my standings predictions and then the awards and the playoffs and all that fun stuff. And then most improved / breakout players for every team, flop players, make or break players, and some miscellaneous predictions for the season at the end. All right, we'll start with the standings, and we'll start with the Eastern Conference. In first place in the East, finishing with a record of 50-22, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. This is a bold call by me, and I know there's a lot of people picking some other teams like the Bucks, but I'm high on the Bucks too, but I just have a gut feeling it could be Philly. I think that they improved their roster. Doc Rivers, I think, is going to have a good influence on this team. He always gets his guys to play hard and play defense, and I think he is a good coach, and he's, I think, going to be a good match for Joel Embiid, and I think that him and Ben Simmons and that whole team is going to play well for Doc, and I think that they have a potential trade to make as well. Number 2, the Milwaukee Bucks. I have them at 49-23. Obviously, back-to-back MVPs for Giannis. Giannis signs that big extension. The Bucks are under a lot of pressure to win a title. I mean, yeah, Giannis just signed a big extension, but they're still under pressure to win, or else they're probably going to have to blow up that roster and retry again. Number 3 of the Miami Heat at 47-25. Your reigning Eastern Conference champions. I have in the 3 spot. I still think they're going to be very good. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo are 2 awesome players. And they're young guys like Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. All will have impacts again. In 4th place, I have the Brooklyn Nets at 46-26. Kevin Durant's back. Kyrie Irving back. Now that roster is very, very low. It's Steve Nash, new coach. Number 5, the Boston Celtics at 45-27. It's crazy, but this is Brad Stevens' 8th year already, which is insane. Because I remember he was hired like it was yesterday. Jason Tatum obviously making that jump to stardom. Jaylen Brown's getting better every year. Kemba Walker in year 2 with the Celtics. Gordon Hayward gone. Number 6, the Indiana Pacers. I have them at 41-31. They're an interesting team in this conference, in my opinion. Obviously, Victor Oladipo in a contract year. You have Domantas Sabonis, who's coming off an All-Star appearance. Malcolm Brogdon played well for them last year at times. T.J. Warren was awesome in the bubble. Number 7, the Washington Wizards at 40-32. They trade for Russell Westbrook. For me, that gets them into the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference. They have Westbrook. They have Bradley Beal. Davies Bertans back. Thomas Bryant. Denny Avdija, the rookie. And then Rui Hachimura. Somebody's coming off the bench, and it's probably going to be the rookie. Number 8, the Atlanta Hawks. I have them at 37-35. This is a team that I think is going to make the playoffs. They signed Bojan Bogdanovic. They signed Rajon Rondo. And they have some young guys that I'm banking on to make jumps. Number 9, the Toronto Raptors at 34-38. The Raptors are a pretty good team. But I think they're going to be taking a step back. Pascal Siakam wasn't that good in the bubble. They signed OG Anunoby to that extension. He's got to play up to that, I think. Number 10, the Orlando Magic. I have them at 33-39. This is a team I just feel like is just going to regress. But they don't. And then maybe this year they take a step back. Steve Clifford gets a lot out of these guys. You got Evan Fournier and Nikola Vucevic, Terrence Ross, all these veterans. And obviously Jonathan Isaac out for the year with the torn ACL is a big loss. Number 11, the Chicago Bulls, 30-42. This is a team that a lot of people expect to be better. They have a lot of young guys, Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr., Kobe White. Then Zach LaVine's still there. Number 12, I have the New York Knicks at 27-45. Tom Thibodeau, the new head coach, is there. I think that he's going to get a lot out of these young players. R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, and rookies Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly. All really are, that's like a nice little foundation. And you have Kevin Knox and Frank Ntilikina, two guys I think are under some pressure to improve, or else they might not be around for the long haul. Number 13, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers at 25-47. They're a franchise that's, I think, in a little bit of an abyss after LeBron left. They still have some veterans like Kevin Love and Andre Drummond. And then they have some young guys like Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. Number 14, I have the Charlotte Hornets at 22-50. Devontae Graham coming off the career year that he had. James Borgos, I think, did a good job last year getting a lot out of guys like Graham, and then P.J. Washington's there. Miles Bridges is still there. Malik Monk is yet to put it together. And number 15, the Detroit Pistons at 20-52. They are really in like a major overhaul rebuild. They had like 3 first-round picks in the draft, and then they have Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin, who I think they're trying to trade. Western Conference. Number 1, with a record of 52-20, the Los Angeles Lakers. I think you'd be lying if you were saying that the Lakers got worse. The Lakers had the best offseason of anybody. They extend LeBron. They extend Anthony Davis, or re-sign Anthony Davis. They extend Kyle Kuzma. They bring in Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol, and Wesley Matthews. They bring back Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. This team's loaded, and I think they're headed for big things yet again this season. Number 2, the Denver Nuggets, 50-22. They were in the Western Finals a year ago. The Nuggets, to me, are a team that wants to grow more, and Jamal Murray had the great bubble. Nikola Jokic is still around. Number 3, the Los Angeles Clippers, 49-23. Tyronn Lue's the new head coach. Doc Rivers is gone. Kawhi Leonard's still there. Paul George's still there. They make some changes. Luke Kennard's in, and Marcus Morris re-signed. Serge Ibaka's there now. Number 4, the Utah Jazz at 47-25. The Jazz were in that classic of a series with the Nuggets in the first round of the bubble playoffs in the summer. Donovan Mitchell's still around. Rudy Gobert got extended. They have Bojan Bogdanovic. They have Joe Ingles, Mike Conley. So they still have a really good roster. Number 5, the Dallas Mavericks, 46-26. Luka Doncic is the MVP favorite, according to FanDuel, which is absolutely crazy to me. But at the same time, it's not crazy because the Mavericks are not a contender without him. They obviously need Kristaps Porzingis to stay healthy as well. They acquired Josh Richardson in a trade. Tim Hardaway's still there. Number 6, the Phoenix Suns at 44-28. So Chris Paul's there now. They signed Jay Crowder. They trade away Kelly Oubre. DeAndre Ayton, somebody that they are banking on to make a leap. Number 7, the Golden State Warriors at 40-32. They obviously be higher on this list if Klay Thompson and tears ACL. Stephen Curry obviously is back. I think he's poised for a huge bounce-back season. Draymond still around. Andrew Wiggins still there. James Wiseman, number 2 overall pick. Number 8, the New Orleans Pelicans, 38-34. A lot of people are expecting that year 2 jump from Zion Williamson. Lonzo Ball was not extended, so he's under some pressure to really make that next step. Obviously, Drew Holiday was traded. Steven Adams is there now. Number 9, the Portland Trail Blazers at 37-35. Obviously, they made some changes. Robert Covington was brought in a trade. So they got him, and then Lillard and McCollum, Carmelo, Gary Trent Jr., Yusuf Nurkic, and then Enes Kanter came in via trade as well. Number 10, the Memphis Grizzlies, 34-38. Memphis was one of the big surprises last year in the league. A lot of people think that John Morant is going to make a year 2 jump, including myself. Jaren Jackson Jr. is another guy I think is going to make a jump as well. Number 11, the Sacramento Kings, 32-40. Sacramento, to me, is a team on the rise. They're just in a tough conference. DeAndre Fox, I think, is going to make, or De'Aaron Fox, I think, will make a jump. Buddy Hield's under some pressure to perform now that Bojan Bogdanovic is gone. Marvin Bagley's a guy that I think could improve. Number 12, the Houston Rockets at 30-42. This record projection is based on something, spoiler alert, that will be in the bold predictions column. James Harden badly wants out of Houston. They trade Robert Covington. They trade Russell Westbrook. Christian Wood comes in free agency. DeMarcus Cousins comes in free agency. John Wall's the return in the Russell Westbrook deal along with the first-round pick. Number 13, the Minnesota Timberwolves, 27-45. So Karl-Anthony Towns obviously still around. D'Angelo Russell. You got Anthony Edwards, who's the number 1 overall pick there. And a bunch of other young guys. Number 14, the San Antonio Spurs at 26-46. Now the Spurs, very, very solid organization over the last 2 decades, but now they're in a rebuilding stage. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge are still there. They like DeJounte Murray. They like Derek White. They like Keldon Johnson. There's some other young guys they have that I think are under pressure to make a jump. And number 15, the Oklahoma City Thunder at 24-48. They really just blew up their roster. Chris Paul gone. Steven Adams gone. Terrence Ferguson gone. So the Thunder just have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to build around pretty much. All right, the playoffs. The play-in rounds. So the 7 through 10 seeds play in the play-in round, and it's 7 versus 8 and 9 versus 10. So the 7-8 winner moves into the postseason, and then the loser plays the winner of the 9-10 game. So in the East play-in game, I have the Wizards facing off against the Hawks and the Raptors facing off against the Magic. And Wizards versus Hawks was a fun game, so you got Trae Young and Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal and John Collins. I'm going to go with the Wizards over the Hawks in the 7-8 game, and then the Hawks go into the final game. And then in the first elimination game, you have the Raptors and the Magic. I'm going to go with the Raptors for one last hurrah with the win over Orlando. And then you have the 8-seed Hawks against the 9-seed Raptors in the game that determines the 8-seed in the East. And I'm going to go with the Hawks and Trae Young, as Trae Young will have a signature game to put the Hawks into the round of 16. And then the West play-in game. 7-seed Warriors against the 8-seed Pelicans. So you have Zion and the Pelicans against Curry and the Warriors. Great game. That's going to get a ton of ratings. That'll probably be the Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson game. I think that Stephen Curry will light it up and remind people that he's a 3-time NBA champion. So we'll go with the Warriors over the Pelicans, and then the Pelicans go down to the elimination spot. And in the other elimination game, you got the Blazers and the Grizzlies. 9-seed Blazers, 10-seed Grizzlies. So a rematch of the playing game from last time. John Morant against Damian Lillard. I think it'll be the same result. I just think that Damian Lillard is always clutch when it comes to big games. And I think that Memphis is a couple pieces away realistically from being a threat. So give me the Blazers over the Grizzlies. And then the play-in game, the Blazers and the Pelicans for the final playoff spot. The 8-seed Pelicans against the 9-seed Blazers. Fun game. You have Zion and the Pels against Lillard and the Blazers. And experience will pay off again. So I'm going to go with Damian Lillard and the Blazers to make the round of 16 in the Western Conference playoffs. Eastern Conference quarterfinals. 1-seeded Philadelphia 76ers against the 8-seeded Atlanta Hawks. So you have a ton of stars there. Seth Curry. I almost said Stephen Curry. Because I always, a lot of people comp Trae Young to Steph, so that's why that was in my head. So Seth Curry's on the Sixers. Now you have him, Ben Simmons. Oh, we don't even know if it's going to be Ben Simmons. It could be somebody else. Joel Embiid. And some others. Tobias Harris, obviously, in there as well. Against John Collins and Trae Young and the Hawks. And I think that the Sixers will move on in 4 games over the upstart Hawks. And then you have the 2-seeded Bucks against the 7-seeded Wizards. I think that the Bucks are loaded and will be motivated and ready to go. So I'm going to go with the Bucks in 6 over Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, and the Wizards. 3-seeded Heat against the 6-seeded Indiana Pacers. So this was a playoff matchup in the bubble. The Heat swept them. I don't think this is a sweep this time. I think it'll be Heat in 6 over Victor Oladipo, assuming that he's still in Indiana, and the Pacers. And then the number 4-5 is the Brooklyn Nets against the Boston Celtics. Great series. Kyrie against his old team. Durant back in the postseason. That's a lot of fun. And you have Jason Tatum trying to carry the Celtics, and same with Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker. With Durant back and motivation from Kyrie Irving, I'm going to go with the Brooklyn Nets in 7 games over the Boston Celtics. And hopefully there's fans in the stands by then. And the reception for Kyrie Irving in Boston would just be incredible. Western Conference quarterfinals. You got the 1-seeded Lakers against the 9-seeded Blazers. Rematch of the first round again from the bubble. You got LeBron, Anthony Davis, and the Lakers against Dame and the Blazers. I think that the results will be similar. I'm going to go Lakers in 5 over the Blazers. 2-seeded Denver Nuggets against the 7-seeded Golden State Warriors. This should be a fun series. These 2 teams faced off in the postseason in 2013 when the Warriors were upstart, and they upset them in 6 games. But this time, obviously, no Klay Thompson around, so they're going to be short-handed. Meanwhile, the Nuggets are, I think, a real threat to knock off the Lakers in the West. And I think that they'll knock off the Warriors in 6. 3-seeded Los Angeles Clippers against the 6-seeded Phoenix Suns. This is a fantastic series. So you have Chris Paul against his former team. There's a lot of other fun subplots here. And guess what? I'm going to go with a shocking upset. I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns, your 6th seed, led by Chris Paul and Devin Booker, over the 3-seeded Los Angeles Clippers in 6 games, as Kawhi Leonard and Paul George will have yet another first round or early playoff exit. And then the 4-seeded Utah Jazz against the 5-seeded Dallas Mavericks. Great series. You got Luka Doncic against Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. The best player in this series is Luka Doncic, and I think the Mavericks will advance to the next round in 7 over the Utah Jazz. The semifinals in the East. You got the 1-seeded Philadelphia 76ers against the 4-seeded Brooklyn Nets. Should be a fun series. You got Embiid against Kyrie and Durant. And maybe another certain player I think could very well be traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. You'll see that in the bold predictions segment. This should be a really, really fun series. And I think that the Philadelphia 76ers are the better team and could very well have the best player in the series. So give me the 76ers in 6 over the Brooklyn Nets. The 2-seeded Milwaukee Bucks against the 3-seeded Miami Heat. So this is a rematch of the semifinals from the bubble. But I think this time around will be a different result. So give me the Bucks in 6 over the Miami Heat. Western Conference semifinals. You have the 1-seeded Los Angeles Lakers against the 5-seeded Dallas Mavericks. So you have Luka against LeBron. 2 of the best players in the world going head-to-head. And as far as I'm concerned, the best player in basketball is still LeBron James. And I think him and the Lakers will advance in what should be a fun 6-game series over Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. 2-seeded Denver Nuggets against the 6-seeded Phoenix Suns. This should be a fun series between an up-and-coming team and a team that's already there. Chris Paul, I think, will be a welcomed addition to that franchise and will get them on the right path. But I think they fall short here against Luka Doncic. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. So give me the Nuggets in 6 over the Phoenix Suns. The conference finals will start with the East. You got the 1-seeded Philadelphia 76ers against the 2-seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Should be a fun series. You got Giannis against Embiid. Two of the better big men and forwards in the league. Two of the best 5 players in the league when they're healthy. Or really, realistically, 10. And I'm going to go with the team I think is deeper, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers in 7 over the Milwaukee Bucks. And in the Western Conference Finals, we have the 1-seeded Los Angeles Lakers against the 2-seeded Denver Nuggets. So we have a Conference Finals rematch again. I think this would be a fun series between 2 awesome teams in the Western Conference. And I think that the Lakers will get it done again, led by LeBron James and Anthony Davis in 6 games over the Denver Nuggets. And now the NBA Finals. You have the Western Conference 1-seed Los Angeles Lakers against the Eastern Conference 1-seed, the Philadelphia 76ers. Stars, power, galore, LeBron, AD, Embiid. A mystery superstar that you'll find out in the bold prediction segment. And a lot more. I think the difference here in this NBA Finals matchup is that the best 2-man combination in the league is LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I think that Embiid is capable of stopping AD and stepping up his game defensively. But LeBron James is still LeBron James as far as I'm concerned. And the Lakers are a much deeper team than, or not a much deeper team, but a little bit deeper than the Philadelphia 76ers. I think the Lakers bench, could be a difference for them as they repeat as NBA champions in 2020, 2021. So I'm going to take the Lakers in a 7-game classic over the Philadelphia 76ers. Awards. All right, my MVP pick, LeBron James, Los Angeles Lakers. I was stunned to see that he was 15-1 on FanDuel to win this award. How in the world is the best player in basketball 15-1? I'm still taking it, and I think he's going to win it. I think he's going to be motivated. I think he's going to quiet that narrative that he didn't want to start the season in December. And I think he's going to have a big chip on his shoulder. He's still LeBron James. I think that there's people out there still being like, oh, well, it was the bubble. Clippers collapsed, yada, yada. He's still LeBron James, and that's all in his head. I think he's going to win the MVP this year. And my runner-up for the MVP, I'm going to go with Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Bucks. Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks. I think he repeats for this award. He's become one of the better all-around defenders in the league. And that is a credit to Mike Budenholzer and his staff, and obviously Giannis himself. And runner-up, I'm going to go with Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz. Most improved player. This was a hard call between 2 players that are on the same team. And yes, I do think that the best player on this team was the 2nd overall pick in last year's draft. But I think that his teammate, Jaren Jackson Jr., will win the Most Improved Player award. I just wanted to pick an outside-the-box player, and I think Memphis will be very close to postseason contention. They kind of remind me of the Pelicans from last year, where they have that somewhat unexpected breakout guy like Brandon Ingram last year, and I think that could very well be Jaren Jackson Jr. this year on Memphis. Because I think the narrative is that John Morant's already a superstar, which he is, and I absolutely love John Morant. I had him ahead of Trae Young in my player or point guard and player rankings for this year, and I think that he is already one of the best point guards in the Western Conference. But I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. will be the most improved player, and I think Morant will be a big part of that as well. Sixth man of the year, I'm going to go with Montrezl Harrell of the Lakers. I think there's going to be some games where he's playing crunch time for the Lakers with Anthony Davis instead of Marc Gasol. And I think that he just wants to stick it to the Clippers. Rookie of the year, Anthony Edwards, Minnesota Timberwolves. This was kind of obvious. I think that he's going to put up some big numbers on Minnesota. It certainly helps that you have some quality teammates in D'Angelo Russell and Karl-Anthony Towns. But the case against Edwards is that those two guys probably want the ball more than Edwards. Coach of the year, Doc Rivers, Philadelphia 76ers. I think he's going to go in there and really help change the narrative with the Sixers and all their players that they have there. And I think he'll eventually lead for them to have a 1 seed. Executive year, Daryl Morey, Philadelphia 76ers. You'll see why in a couple minutes when I get to the bold prediction segment. But he also made some good acquisitions of Danny Green and Seth Curry that they absolutely needed. The shooting around Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. So Daryl Morey, to me, is the pick for this. First team All-NBA. Stephen Curry, James Harden, LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid. Second team All-NBA. Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo. Third team All-NBA. Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic. All right. First team All-Defense. Patrick Beverley, Marcus Smart, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Rudy Gobert. Second team All-Defense. Ben Simmons, Victor Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo. Alrighty, quickly, I just wanted to do runners-up for the awards that I missed doing runners-up on. My most improved player runner-up, I'm going to go with another young player that I think will make a big step forward, and that is DeAndre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns. Sixth man of the year runner-up, I'm going to go with the player that's pretty much in this every year, and that's Lou Williams of the Los Angeles Clippers. Rookie of the year runner-up. This was a tough call, but I'm going to go with LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets, because I think that they want to give him the ball a lot, and he's a good passer. Coach of the year runner-up, I'm going to go with Lloyd Pierce of the Atlanta Hawks. An executive of the year runner-up, I am going to go with Rob Pelinka of the Los Angeles Lakers. Alrighty, all rookie team. Alrighty, point guard, LaMelo Ball. Shooting guard, I'm going to go with Anthony Edwards. Small forward, I'm going to go with Denny Avdija. Power forward, Obi Toppin. And the center, James Wiseman. All rookie second team. This was a tougher one to pick. Point guard, Tyrese Haliburton. Shooting guard, I'm going to go with Devin Vassell. Small forward, I'm going to go with Isaac Okoro of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Power forward, I'm going to go with Onyeka Okongwu of the Hawks. In the center, I'm going to go with Jalen Smith of the Phoenix Suns. All right. Most improved / breakout. These are the players I think will either be breakout players or / most improved. Or I'm going to just call it the most improved players list on every team. Atlanta, DeAndre Hunter. Boston, Romeo Langford. Brooklyn, Taurean Prince. Charlotte, P.J. Washington. Chicago, Wendell Carter Jr. Cleveland, Colin Sexton. Dallas, Dorian Finney-Smith. Denver, Michael Porter Jr. Detroit, Sekou Doumbouya. Golden State, Damian Lee. Houston, Ben McLemore. Indiana, Aaron Holiday. The Clippers, Luke Kennard. The Lakers, Talen Horton-Tucker. Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr. Miami, Tyler Herro. Milwaukee, Dante DiVincenzo. Minnesota, Josh Okogie. New Orleans, Lonzo Ball. New York, R.J. Barrett. OKC, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Orlando, Markelle Fultz. Philadelphia, Matthias Thybulle. Phoenix, I'm going to go with DeAndre Ayton. Portland, Fernie Simmons. Sacramento, Marvin Bagley. San Antonio, Keldon Johnson. Toronto, OG Anunoby. Utah, Mie Oni. And Washington, Rui Hachimura. Flop players. Atlanta, Rajon Rondo. Boston, Jeff Teague. Brooklyn, Spencer Dinwiddie. Charlotte, Devontae Graham. Chicago, Thomas Satoransky. Cleveland, Kevin Love. Dallas, Courtney Lee. Denver, Paul Millsap. Detroit, Jeremy Grant. Golden State, Draymond Green. Houston, DeMarcus Cousins. Indiana, TJ Warren. Clippers, Marcus Morris. Lakers, Wesley Matthews. Memphis, Justice Winslow. Miami, Duncan Robinson. Milwaukee, Brook Lopez. Minnesota, Malik Beasley. And that obviously in the wake of the news that he is dealing with right now. New Orleans, Eric Bledsoe. New York, Elfrid Payton. Oklahoma City, Andre Roberson. Orlando, Dwayne Bacon. Philadelphia, Dwight Howard. Phoenix, Jay Crowder. Portland, Carmelo Anthony. Sacramento, Hassan Whiteside. San Antonio, LaMarcus Aldridge. Toronto, Chris Boucher. Utah, Jordan Clarkson. And Washington, Davis Bertans. Next up, make or break players. These are players I think are facing make or break years. Atlanta, Cam Reddish. Boston, Semi Ojeleye. Brooklyn, Landry Shamet. Charlotte, Malik Monk. Chicago, Lauri Markkanen. Cleveland, Larry Nance Jr. Dallas, Josh Richardson. Denver, Gary Harris. Detroit, Zaire Smith. Golden State, Andrew Wiggins. Houston, Eric Gordon. Indiana, Miles Turner. Clippers, Ivica Zubac. Lakers, Kyle Kuzma. Memphis, Brandon Clark. Miami, Goran Dragic. Milwaukee, Bobby Portis. Minnesota, Juan Hernan-Gomez. New Orleans, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. New York, Kevin Knox. Oklahoma City, Ty Jerome. Orlando, Mo Bamba. Philadelphia, Furkan Korkmaz. Phoenix, Dario Saric. Portland, Zach Collins. Sacramento, Jabari Parker. San Antonio, Jakob Poeltl. Toronto, DeAndre Bembry. Utah, Emmanuel Mudiay. And Washington, Jerome Robinson. Now I'm going to make some miscellaneous predictions for the season. And my number one bold prediction of the 2020-2021 season, I've hinted at it all podcast long. The Houston Rockets will trade James Harden to the Philadelphia 76ers for Ben Simmons. Maybe one more asset, whatever that is. Matthias Thybulle. Maybe Tobias Harris goes in that trade to even out some money. And then a bunch of first-round picks. And maybe one more thing gets thrown to Philadelphia as well. And maybe a pick swap. As James Harden finally gets his wish to get out of Houston and to join an Eastern Conference contender in the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think that Harden, Embiid, and let's say Tobias Harris is not in the trade, and then it's just Simmons and picks. And then you would have Seth Curry, James Harden, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. That's a loaded starting five. And then Matthias Thybulle, obviously, is there too. And maybe Danny Green or Seth Curry can come off the bench. And that would be pretty awesome. So yeah, the biggest name traded this year will be James Harden. I think there's going to be some role guys traded too. I think that Austin Rivers from the Knicks, I think, could be somebody that could be had. I think that Thaddeus Young of the Bulls could be had. Kevin Love, maybe. But he's been hurt all the time. I think Andre Drummond's going to be dealt. I don't have any real destinations in general, but I had to throw the Harden one out there because it was just so a big name, and I just wanted to throw that big prediction out there. So there you have it. In other predictions, I think that there will be a season 5 of The Masked Singer, and an NBA player will be on it. I don't know who that will be, but I do think that if there's a season 5 of The Masked Singer, there'll be an NBA player on the show, whether it's a current player or a former player. And I'm going to say that it's a current player, and like that player will like sneak around. Maybe it's Klay Thompson because he's out for the year. I could see him doing that because that's what don't forget Victor Oladipo last year filming Masked Singer during training camp, and he was injured. So I'm going to say that Klay Thompson will be on The Masked Singer. And that'd be pretty cool. I'm going to also predict that the Raptors will be a seller at the trade deadline. I think that there's pieces on that team that they'd like to move. Maybe Kyle Lowry's a name that potentially gets moved. The first coach fired this season, I'm going to predict that it will be a coach that I don't think many people are really like expecting to get fired, but it wouldn't like shock me if this coach is let go, and I'm going to say that's Dwayne Casey of the Pistons. I just think that's a team that's rebuilding, and I think that's part of it too. And it's similar to it's obvious that Detroit's tanking. It's like the Jaguars in a way. Like Doug Marone's weirdly still their coach, and I think he's fired after the season. But I think that Dwayne Casey, I think the Pistons get off to a terrible start, and I think that Casey will be the fall guy for it. I think that the team that gets off to a surprisingly decent start and then falls off will be the Memphis Grizzlies. I think that I made the case for Jaren Jackson for most improved player. I love John Morant, but I just don't think they have enough around those guys to make the postseason in a loaded Western Conference. And then one more prediction. I think that the league does a really spectacular job handling the coronavirus pandemic that we're obviously still fighting as a country and as a nation. And I think that there will be some games that are postponed, but they'll be made up and all that. But for the most part, I think that the NBA will do a very good job handling the COVID-19 pandemic. So there is another prediction for you guys. And then one last thing, I like doing this thing called Ewing theory. That's what the Ringer's Bill Simmons always does, where you remove a player, whether the player gets injured or the player leaves as a free agent, and your team automatically becomes better. I have a couple candidates for that this year. The Boston Celtics with Gordon Hayward is the one that I think stands out a lot. I had another one in my head too that stood out. Sacramento Kings without Bogdan Bogdanović, maybe. Could be one. I doubt the Rockets without Harden. Maybe the Rockets without Westbrook. Maybe the Thunder without Chris Paul. But I doubt those, though. Wizards without John Wall wouldn't make any sense because he wasn't even the best player in that trade. But you never know. But that's not fair. But if the Rockets are better without Westbrook, then that's certainly a Ewing theory. But I really wouldn't like to call it the Ewing theory anymore because the reason why he calls it the Ewing theory is because the New York Knicks in 1999 made the NBA Finals without Patrick Ewing, and they played better without Patrick Ewing, but they lost to the Spurs, so it shouldn't be called the Ewing theory. If anything, it should be called the Wentz theory because the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz, and are playing better this year without Carson Wentz. And then Bryce Harper. He leaves the Nationals and then they win the World Series. So the Bryce Harper theory, I think, is another way to look at it too. It should be the Wentz theory though, because that's the first time it actually has happened in this century, really. But, I mean, some people would say the Bledsoe theory because the Patriots went on the win without Bledsoe and Brady and the rest is history, but I wouldn't even want to call it the Bledsoe theory. But to me, it's the Wentz theory, although Bill Simmons calls it the Ewing theory. But yeah, to me, the biggest Ewing theory candidate is Gordon Hayward, and if the Boston Celtics are better without Gordon Hayward, then that's real, and that's what Bill Simmons would like to call the Ewing theory, and I like to call it the Carson Wentz / Bryce Harper theory. So yeah, that's to me the biggest threat. And then I doubt the Warriors without Klay Thompson is one of them, but that's one that has to be mentioned. Although, obviously, they won all those titles with Klay Thompson, and they certainly don't win those titles without Klay Thompson. So, there you have it, my 2020-2021 NBA predictions show. Power forwards and center rankings will be on tomorrow's regular podcast, and the top 100 players list will be on Wednesday's podcast. Hope you guys have a great night, everyone.